such good shit!
Hey, Mark Rodriguez here. We're back with the Diving Cutter podcast, and with me is...
Johnny Rodriguez, Jack Knives.
And once again, the God of Thunder, the Lord of Rock and Roll, Rikki Rocks, pro wrestling's best kept secret, coming at you on the Diving Cutter podcast. Happy to be here, folks.
There we go, guys. So now we're going to be doing our big review on AEW Revolution and whatever segues we usually run into when we talk about wrestling. And so we did our predictions as we usually do, and we did a little tally of, what match we thought who's gonna be the winner back and forth. So now we're gonna talk about the actual matches, review them, go over who actually won compared to who we thought won, and of course in this particular one, whoever is the loser shall be wearing the lovely Kenny Omega and that other guy oil painting shirt.
Oof.
Courtesy of Pro Wrestling Tees. So, let's get started real quick here. The first match we had, I'm not sure if Johnny saw it, but it was on YouTube because it's part of the buy-in. I don't think the pay-per-view doesn't feature the buy-in.
Oh, I just saw straight up the pay-per-view.
Yeah. So originally...
I can take over the pre... I can take over the pre-show if you want.
Yeah, let me just at least, name what was in it or whatever. But, so the pre-show was Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, with Reba going up against Riho and Thunder Rosa. But since they're still playing up the whole Reba thing with the cast and whatever the hell, they're saying she's unfit to wrestle. So the big surprise is that we got Maki Itoh coming back there to take Baker's spot. So that was pretty surprising.
Well, it was a good back and forth seeing Riho. Maki Itoh has a history with both Thunder Rosa and Riho from Tokyo Joshi Pro. But I legitimately, looking back on it, am laughing because literally Maki Itoh had the biggest surprise pop of anyone. Legitimately. Everyone went, you hear it in the arena. Everyone was happy to see Maki Itoh. So that made me happy, seeing Maki Itoh. And if AEW is smart, they'll sign her because they need more women with personality, more, more character to drive, the fans.
Yeah.
No, it was a good back and forth. I think, I honestly think it was a pretty good tag team match. To be fair, I was really not expecting much. I think that was a part of it, but ultimately it ended with Britt Baker throwing Thunder Rosa into the ropes, Maki Itoh distracting the ref, Reba hits Thunder Rosa with the what was it called?
Crutches.
The crutch. Yeah, the crutch, roll up pin, and that was pretty much all she wrote.
Well, again, here we got something I touched on at the last one, with AEW, the good and the bad, so much of the time. It gets tough to make predictions sometimes because so often they'll throw you a complete curveball. Who was expecting Maki Itoh to come in and even be there, let alone be a part of the match? So we couldn't have called that. We couldn't have predicted that. And thus, I think a lot of the expectations for the match itself and our predictions were kind of a little bit thrown off by that. But again, that's good in its own way and it's bad in its own way. On the one hand, it wasn't quite what they advertised, but at the same time, like you said, nice pop, nice unexpected surprise, and you do need that. So it was an interesting way to take care of that situation. I just know it totally blew my prediction out of the water because of it, though.
And yeah, for me, I thought it was a good match. I knew that obviously Reba was faking it, so I was waiting for her to use her crutch as a weapon because she didn't leave the ring. So I'm saying, yeah, she's gonna be doing something and everything. And yeah, you're right. It's a big pop when Maki Itoh came on. I'm glad that she was doing more than just her one match at the tournament where she lost her first match and it's okay, that's it, thanks for coming. Despite the fact that she has this huge fan base, she was the person everyone thought was going to either win or make it to the finals or whatever, and she's just down first match. So I'm glad they did stuff with her. And of course, there's still a bit more to come with her down the line in this very pay-per-view, so we'll find out about that in a bit. So, holy shit. Okay, so all of us, which, by the way, in case you guys missed the last episode, that includes Chuck Rodriguez, who can't be here tonight. He's got to be up very early in the morning. All of us voted for Thunder Rosa and Riho to win. I'm surprised I didn't consider, that, what's her name? That Britt Baker was going to cheat or something. Obviously not with Maki, but cheat in general. But wow, we all voted for Riho. So all of us lost that first gamble.
No, I think that's wrong. I think all of us got Britt Baker, didn't we? I thought
we all
Britt
voted
Baker
for Thunder Rosa and Riho.
Yeah, because I specifically thought that Rikki or Rebel or whatever to call her, I specifically thought that she was there to take the pin. So based on
I could have sworn that's what it. I could have sworn that was what it was. I could have.
Yeah, but taking the pin means that Thunder Rosa and Riho wins, though.
Shenanigans, but I could have sworn.
Yeah, I thought specifically she was there to get pinned and keep Britt and everybody else looking strong. I figured Rebel or Rikki was the only one who could afford to take the pin. But see, again, like I said, you bring in Maki Itoh unannounced, and that changes the whole dynamic. You can't predict things like that, so you just got to roll with it. So
yeah, and it is the pre-show. The pre-show doesn't really count anyway. So
yeah. So basically, we're all even. We're all even. We all lost the same, so we're all even. But yeah, all of us thought that Reba was gonna be like Reba's, actual standout match, which, as of to date, she still has no standout match. We were all assuming she was going to take the pin to have Baker look strong. So all of us were voting for Rosa and Riho. But wow, okay. So anyways, the next match here actually surprised me that it was like so quick. It was like the first one right off the bat was Chris Jericho and MJF going up against the Young Bucks for the tag team championships. And yeah, what can I say? There's a decent match here and there. I don't know. The part where they attacked his father and stuff, that kind of made me guess that the Bucks are going to win in the end, because that's just pissing them off. That's just fucking provoking them. That's just kicking a hornet's nest and whatever and stuff. I was still hoping they would have done a surprise somewhere. There were lots of close calls where Jericho or MJF could have won, but, in the end, Ricky's buddies won the match there.
And I'll say this, I was not, again, I expected, and they are kind of doing similar, I figured that all of this was going to end up leading to an angle down the road with Jericho and MJF being on the outs and things happening within the group and all that. And they're doing that, but now they're doing it right now instead of what I figured, which is be like 2 or 3 months down the road. To me, I really felt like the story would have made more sense if there was an angle in between with Jericho and MJF having the belts, and then each of them kind of angling for dominance or superiority over the other, and then they lose them, and then they have a falling out. I hate to do the here's how I would have booked it thing, but that's pretty much what I would have booked and what I expected to see. So it's kind of getting to the end game a little quicker than I thought. I was kind of with. I think Jack said something the last time about how it really isn't a win that the Bucks needed. I think he said something to that respect, and I agreed with that. But again, that blew my prediction completely out of the water, because I didn't think they would jump over what could have been a more intriguing storyline just to get to the very obvious finish of it, which is, they're breaking up and they're going their separate ways. It was like, of course that was going to happen. I wouldn't have pulled the trigger on it so fast. I feel like they're kind of leaving money on the table that way, but it's not my rodeo, so it is what it is.
Your thoughts, Johnny?
What did I thought about the match? I just feel like I don't know. The whole time I was thinking about, oh man, like Jericho had better days. Like he fought, way better opponents than the Young Bucks. So for him to just lose like that just kind of like, I don't know. It's just, to me, it just really felt like, I hate to say it, but it's like really scripted at this point. Like, it's so obvious that the Young Bucks are the AEW favorites, quote unquote favorites.
if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, but I kind of get the feeling, and I haven't heard him say this, but I kind of get the feeling that Jericho sees a lot of himself in the Bucks, and that's why he kind of is cool with putting them over like that and making them look good, because, you know, he was them in a sense back in like 95, 96, right down to the point of sometimes doing crazy shit just to do crazy shit, whether or not it really made sense or you know, his psychology wasn't always there. In WCW, he was trying to get that Jericho Spike move over until he almost crippled himself against Ghetto at Halloween Havoc. You know, so that's my assumption. I think Jericho sees a lot of himself in them, and that might be why he's so cool with it. But you know, that's speculative on my part. But it would make sense.
Well, I mean, I already knew the Bucks were going to win because, I mean, as I said before, they're the Bucks. And Johnny hit a good note, which kind of brings up something I've brought up to people before. If you look at certain wrestlers, and this primarily happens in WWE, but if you look at certain wrestlers when they're a huge, like, full force, just balls to the wall wrestler in another promotion, and then they'll, in their twilight years or in their later part of their career, they'll go to, you know, say WWE usually, and they'll slow down the pace. They'll do matches, but more of like the bare minimum of matches compared to what they did before. And it's basically like they're there for a check. They got nothing else to prove. And I think Jericho is at that point in his career. And I think everyone is coming to terms with that, where it's like realistically, I don't see Jericho. Look, I don't see Jericho main eventing in the next 5 years. I just don't see it. It just doesn't seem plausible for me because of the way, you know, he can't even keep up with his old moveset anymore. Like even his basic moveset, like he can barely do a lion salt anymore, and it's starting to affect him.
You know, I actually. I don't see him do it every time, but I think that's one of the things he still has on the ball is that one. I mean, he's definitely slowed down, which we all do.
Right, and I'm not running the guy down. I'm just saying it more as a point of you can tell that he's at that point where he's getting ready to hang up the boots. It feels like that as far as. It just felt like AEW gave him like the opportunity to keep going.
The way I feel about Jericho, and everybody knows this, is that I feel like he's just being more like the veteran. That he's like being like the mentor for the newer generation of wrestlers. So I think he's more there just to guide them, to tell them how to, do the whole 9 yards, so to speak.
Right.
Well,
it's the same principle. It's the same thing they're doing with Sting. Like, Sting's not there. Sting's not there to take the title from Kenny Omega. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
right.
That's not why he's there. He's there because he wants to do what I think all veterans should do, and that's pass the torch. And overall, I thought this was a pretty good match with MJF and Jericho and the Bucks. But the problem is, I've seen this match too often. Like, it feels like I've seen, like, some form of the Inner Circle fighting the Bucks so often that it's almost like routine at this point. It wasn't bad. It just felt more predictable.
I think the wrong team went over. I really do. Just from a storyline perspective, I think they could have not dragged it out, fleshed it out with Jericho and MJF and the breakup. Right. I mean, if you go back to... I'm dating myself here, but if you go back to the NWO, okay?
Yeah.
The first cracks in the foundation were in April of 97. Around Spring Stampede, I think, when everything shit the bed and Macho Man punched out fucking Bischoff, and then people expected that a week or a month later the whole thing was blown. But they didn't pull the trigger on that split for another year. And even when they did, they still called it back to, last year this happened and all these things happened. So all those events still mattered, but they didn't pull the trigger on it quite so soon. So some could argue they waited a little bit too long, but they had to get through Starrcade first, don't forget, with the Hogan Sting thing, and that wasn't until December. But the point is that by the time they finally pulled the trigger on the split, they had all this storyline history between all the principal characters. You had friction between Hogan and Savage. You had friction between Hogan and Nash. You had friction between between Nash and Savage, but a shared tension between them and Hogan specifically. So they were willing to put their problems aside because now we both hate Hogan. And so there were all these things being called back to over this year's time that enriched the story. Whereas I feel like by having everything go down so quickly as it is right now with MJF and Jericho, it feels like he just got into the group and now they're breaking up. It's like, I don't think that was necessarily the best way to tell the story, and I think it would have helped them better, everybody better in the long run, even if the Bucks were the ones to beat them for it in 2 months or 3 months. Even then, I feel like it would have been a better way to tell the story if they had Jericho and MJF go over at the pay-per-view, win the belts, have them for a little bit, but, eventually the young lion shit cans the old lion and all of that. I think they left money on the table by doing it the way they did. But again, it's not my circus. I don't own the clowns.
Now, what happened here in the follow-up episode, I saw that was like finally when MJF, I guess, took down Jericho. Did he take over the Inner Circle? It looked like he had 4 or 5 other guys that weren't
He was trying to. What they were saying was, okay, Sammy Guevara came out, which that was the one thing I was surprised that Sammy Guevara didn't in any way get involved in the match at Revolution. Even coming out to just look at them. You know what I mean? I really was thinking that would have made more sense. What happened at Dynamite was they had the Inner Circle War Council, and then Sammy came out. Sammy goes, I have something to show you, and he just so happened to have a tape recorder or a video recorder of MJF planning a coup to have everyone turn against Jericho and have him lead the Inner Circle, and then they turn and they look like they're about to attack Jericho, and then they turn to MJF and they side with Jericho, and then he's all sniveling and crying in the corner like, no, don't hurt me, and he's all like, I didn't want it to be this way, and now I had I didn't want to reveal my cards this early, and then the lights go out, and then it's Sean Spears, FTR, Tully Blanchard, Wardlow all come out, attack the Inner Circle, beat the hell out of them, and then MJF power bombs Jericho through, Wardlow power bombs Jericho through a inflatable table. That literally, and I only mention that because the minute it hit, it didn't make a crunch; it made a noise, like you could hear the bag go, it was so fun. If you watch it, you Rikki, I don't know if you saw it, but literally, he threw him off the side of the stage, and he lands on the table, and as soon as he hits through the table, you hear a, it was so, I was laughing so hard.
I mean, gotta love those crack production values, right?
Oh, God.
I was just just put the camera slightly away, that's all you have to do.
So rather than taking over the Dark Order, the Inner Circle, now there's some other kind of gang. I guess MJF joined Tully Blanchard's gang, I guess.
I think they're going to call themselves the Horsemen. I heard that AEW is trying to buy the rights to call them the Horsemen, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Mm.
Real quick before we move on, I just want to say I will I'll go against your prediction on one thing, Jack. I do think that before all said and done, part of this is rooting for it, but part of it's also straight prediction. I think Jericho's got one more run with the belt in him. I really do, because he's going to end up turning face, and I don't think it'll be a long run, but I think selfishly he probably wants one more face run with the belt before it's all over. He's definitely lost the step. I think he's going to go out putting somebody else over in a big, big way. this is just how I see it, you know. I love the guy, always have. I'm always rooting for him, even when I criticize him. He was a huge influence, inspiration on me and my style and my character. Got to chat with him briefly, thank him for everything. You know, I used one of his songs from Fozzy as my theme for the first few years, and he was really gracious about that. So I just want, you know, I'll defend the guy to death. I mean, he's definitely slowed down a little bit. I will say this, you know, one of the things he became a master of, and some people criticize wrestling for this entirely, but he's kind of got the rock star mentality when it comes to wrestling. And that, like it or not, this is something we all say in the locker room anyway, to let the secret out. You know, the work rate only really counts on the way up. Once you're at the top, the rest of it is playing your greatest hits. And that's just what's expected of you after a while. So people don't like that, but he's not going to, you know, have the same match at 40-something that he did when he was 20-something. But I think he's done great in doing like guys like Steamboat did, whereas they start to creep on in years, they whittle down the moveset to something that works against any opponent with any style, and they can still have a credible match. And that's important to do. Like a guy like Morrison, when his body breaks down, he's going to be worthless because he won't be able to do everything that makes him who he is. And that's not necessarily a knock on him, but I mean, I'm just saying some guys have a harder time making that transition when things do start to bust down, and I think Jericho is one of the guys who's done it better than anybody. Even though I wish he was a little bit better shape, I don't understand how he's at where he's at right now, because I know he works hard. I don't know. Maybe he needs to cut down on the alcohol. I don't know.
Cut down on the bubbly.
He's got abs.
Well, yeah, because people try to argue that, oh, well, he's old. I'm like, really isn't that old, realistically. And it's not that he's really that old compared to, in wrestling terminology, he may seem old, but
it's
he's really not in. It's his lifestyle. You can tell. Like, I mean, realistically, I'm not trying to be a dick, but
it's a quarantine. It's a quarantine.
Here's what
I think since he lost the title, it's like he just kind of let himself go, and I think that's more to do with his work regimen. Like, he doesn't really, realistically, if you look at Jericho, he doesn't really do that many matches compared to the first year of AEW.
Yeah.
Like, the first year, he would almost every other week he would wrestle. And now it's like he wrestles maybe once a month, if that. And usually it's a tag team.
What solidified it in my mind about where he's at now versus where he might be otherwise is when somebody online posted side-by-side pictures and noted that Jericho right now is the same age Hogan was when he wrestled The Rock. And you look at what Hogan looked like at that age versus what Jericho looks like at that age, and whatever a person wants to say about Hogan, okay, the guy, when he shows up to work, even at his age, no matter what, that's why to me the age factor is irrelevant, because like it or not, he always showed up looking larger than life and like he was in shape, right, even when he was broken to shit. I mean, he was broken down when he had that match with Orton, and the match wasn't great, but he looked great. So he always put that work into maintaining himself, even if he only had a quarter of a tank filled up. And it is lifestyle, because I know he lives in the gym. Jericho, I don't know if Jericho even really lifts much, because I know in one of his books when he blew out his back, he mentioned how he only did yoga for a couple of years. I don't know if that's still the case, but that would explain a lot, because, you know, yoga can be great at rehabbing injuries and keeping you strong and building a core, but at the same time, you know, to burn fat and to really get chiseled up, you got to lift heavy weight. I mean, that's the way it works. So, and I don't know if he does. I don't know if he can, but I don't know. But I'm always rooting for him is my point. Even if, you know, I'm rooting for him, and I do think he's got one more run. I don't know if it'll be a long run, and I don't know if it'll be his best run, but I do predict one more before it's all said and done. I predict the babyface Jericho champion run at some point before he hangs it up, whether that's this year, next year, who knows, but mark it down. We'll come back to that if and when.
So who won the predictions for that one?
You did, because you were the only one that voted for the Young Bucks everyone was giving it to MJF and Jericho. Like I said, I would have preferred they would have won, and it would have started like a bragging contest of who was the most instrumental to that victory and stuff like that, and kind of, like where they kind of argue, they kind of brag, argue, and then they kind of let it slide. But you can still kind of tell it's bothering both of them, and that would be like the first hint that okay, these guys aren't gonna, mesh together well as champions or whatever. But
Exactly what I expected.
it's like what Ricky Rock says, it's their name on the door, right?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Ricky, Jackknife's got the one. Everyone else got zeros because we still haven't chosen a correct one yet, and that includes Chuck Rodriguez, who isn't with us now. And let's see here. Okay, so the next match we got here is the super duper crazy one, the Casino Tag Team Royale for a shot at a future, match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. And we had everyone and their mother there. I don't know if you guys want to name all the teams again or not, but we had, Bear County, we had the Death Triangle, we had like some of you guys predicted that we were going to see Jungle Boy and what's his name, Luchasaurus. You were right; those guys were in there, and the whole fucking lot of them. It was just a bunch of guys, tons of them. I gotta say, this is perfect though for people that don't watch Dark. This would have been your chance to see a lot of these tag teams, so that's kind of cool. And I feel that it was good enough. They had all their spots. SEU was in there too, minus Scorpio Sky. Yeah, my mind slipped. There's just way too many guys in there. Even Pretty Peter Avalon, in case you guys have missed out, he's no longer doing the library gimmick. He's now doing like the pretty whatever gimmick. I'm surprised now that I think about it that Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss weren't there, because they would have been an interesting tag team. Now, now one thing I did want to mention that so anyways, I wasn't doing like the full play-by-play. I was just like so I just wrote the notes of things that just stood out. So the thing that stood out the most, which is kind of funny because Johnny voted for the Natural Nightmares. The thing is, we actually saw the split, the breakup of the Natural Nightmares. We had, I think the Gun Club were also, I guess, part of the whole, Cody Rhodes gigantic fucking Nightmare family or whatever. So during part of the match, QT Marshall eliminates both members of the Gun Club because in the rules, you got to have both members out. Like, as long as one guy's still in there, I think the other guy can still keep coming back in. You gotta knock both guys out, So QT eliminates both members of the Gun Club, and Dustin gets in there, dude, like, what you doing? Like, they're our buddies. Like, what the hell? We're all in the same, and whatever. And then QT gets pissed. He purposely jumps out to disqualify himself and just leaves. And that leaves Dustin to fend for himself and stuff like that. And yeah, so that was the thing. That was the thing. Aside, of course, from the Dark Order having like about 3 or so different incarnations of themselves in the ring and stuff. That was like another thing that stood out. But yeah, like wow, we saw the breakup of the Natural Nightmares.
There was one thing that before we get to the very end of the match, there was one thing that really made me just like laugh, but rage laugh, like almost like, are you serious? Like, so like in the match, there was a point where one of the guys from Bear Country or whatever the hell it's called, pile drived one dude, tombstone pile drive one dude onto another dude's head.
Yeah.
And then literally, no joke, and then literally, and they go, and he just tombstoned him onto another person. And literally 2 minutes later, no joke, 2 minutes, almost to the time, the guy from the Dark Order, not John Silver, the other guy, he picks up the dude and tombstones on the same, they do the exact same spot and they blow their mind. They're like, oh my God, I've never seen, I'm like, you just saw it 2 minutes ago in this match. They literally flip their shit. They go, oh my God, I've never... I'm like, what are you, goldfish? Did you just forget 2 minutes ago when they did that same spot?
It's like, wow.
But that was the part where I was like, wait, what?
It's like Hogan did a leg drop on the Macho Man. Holy shit! He did a leg drop on the Ultimate Warrior. I have never seen Hogan do a leg drop.
That's exactly what they did. Literally.
He did do it once. He did do it once off the top in Japan, which you probably didn't see. So that would have been warranted of a, I've never seen him do that, because he literally never did. They never did again.
Well, they said they've never seen that move ever.
Yeah.
That's what made me laugh. They go, I've never seen that in a wrestling match. I'm like, what? You goldfish? What the hell's wrong with you?
He hit a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
It just made me laugh. That was the one note I remembered of that match. It just really stuck in my brain.
One thing that got me, though, is that there was no, like, surprise tag team. There was no... I mean, I don't even know who would count as a surprise tag team nowadays, but I'm sure there's tons of badass people from the Indies or Japan or whatever. Like, fuck. They could have brought in the fucking... What now?
We were talking about it last time. The fucking Nasty Boys, man.
There you go. There you go. Well, I was going to say,
well,
Ziggler Randomness to Japón, but yeah, I'll take the Nasty Boys.
I was actually thinking about that while I was watching the match. While I was watching the match, I was thinking, this would have been a perfect opportunity to have, like, a tag team from, like, Impact show up.
Yeah. That would,
because
they had, like...
Because they're, like, building up a thing with them. It would have made more sense to have them in this kind of match.
They had, like, 3 or 4 spots to be determined. I thought for sure one of those spots would be an Impact tag team. Shows what we know.
Now, there's a question, just realistically speaking, because that would have been a pop. They probably would have been there for only like maybe like a minute or two or whatever, or just do the pit stop. But like, can the Nasty Boys still go? Can they still at least get in there, take a bump, do the pit stop, whatever, and get thrown out or whatever? Can they still go?
Royal, yeah. For a fucking battle royal, yeah. That's pretty much if they're still working right now. That's probably the Nasty Boys 5 years ago were as good as they've ever been. They worked with a tag team. They actually worked with the team that me and Jersey Kid pinned for the belts. The Rude Dudes, the 2 Rude Dudes, Corey Havoc and Rampage Rogers. They worked with the Nasty Boys at a show I was on. And again, like I said, some people get really good at doing what they do. And if you are good at what you do, you can do it till you're 100. And the Nasty Boys and also Demolition, they were another team that I've been on the indies with a few times. And I owe them a lot, too. They're part of why I got into the business. And, again, they're done now, I think. I think Demolition wrapped it up officially, like, this past year, but that's
I thought some of them passed or something.
When you get over doing a certain thing a certain way, if you master it and it's not all that complicated, you can ride that shit to the dirt. That's the smart way to do it.
But, yeah, I mean, that would have been cool. That would have been one hell of a pop. Like, obviously they wouldn't win or whatever, no storylines. I don't know. You could maybe use them again on Dynamite or whatever for a thing, but that would have been one hell of a pop. I would have like dropped wherever the fuck I was eating and be like, what the fuck are the Nasty Boys doing here?
What? I was thinking, what would have been really crazy? I mean, like, just, we're going to go like crazy balls to the walls. How weird would it have been? Like, how weirded out would you have been? But they wouldn't call them this anymore. But and in the tag team battle royal, they had the Ascension. You remember like the Ascension from WWE?
Yeah.
Like them get signed to All Elite and just like, I'm like, whoa, like that would be cool. Like that would be cool to see them or something, something like that. Like that would have been a cool.
Well, yeah, because they were top dogs at NXT. I mean, they're another victim of people that became like WWE didn't know what to do with them and fucked them up, and they became jobbers and shit.
They were
like
the longest reigning NXT tag team champions they were the longest reigning tag team champions in NXT for, I think they held it for almost a year. And I'm like, and they were really, really good. And then they go to the main roster, and everyone kept comparing them to the Road Warriors, and then
that does you a lot of favors. You know what would have shocked me, because nobody would ever see this coming, is if AEW signed the Ascension, made a big deal about them coming in, used them big on one show, and then completely forgot that they worked there. We have never seen AEW do that before.
Whoa, that's insane. I would have never...
Wait a minute. Now, you might be onto something there. That sounds like good shit. It reminds me of exactly how I've been treating Aleister Black and Sergio Andrade. Exactly the same.
Does Matt
And
Cardona...
Paul White would have come out and gone, "Hey guys, I got a Hall of Fame signee, and his name is New Jack." And you're like, "Oh God!"
But seriously, like, does Matt Cardona still work there? Holy shit!
No, he's in Impact now.
I know that, but I thought that was just part of the crossover thing. It's like they literally brought him in just to say...
No, he's officially signed to Impact now.
Right.
He's officially signed to Impact.
But like, AEW made a fucking big deal for 5 seconds. They're like, we got Matt Cardona, and then they never did anything. What the fuck?
No, they're having him on. He's working for Impact now.
It's just... Then what the fuck was the point of all that? Why didn't they just send him?
Because he was friends with Cody. Duh. Because he was friends with Cody. That's why he worked there.
Yeah, he worked there. He got to walk out on TV and say he worked there. That's how he worked there. He
literally was like, he's like, I'm gonna be here for as long as this check doesn't bounce. All right, bye guys.
As long as this check doesn't bounce.
Did he even have a match with them?
He had 3, and then he left.
That's 3.
But 2 of them were tag teams. And only he had 1 singles match.
That's 3 more matches than I was aware of. But okay, we can move on.
I just know he had a shirt with Cody, like the whole best friends team, Cody and Cardona. That's the only thing I know. But what they should do with these guys is that before they vanish, at least have them in one of the pay-per-views or some shit, and then they could do whatever, you know?
It's just it seems like it's like they put so much energy, maybe too much energy, into just these big announcements of look who we got, and then it's like next week they get a new toy, and they forget about the one they just bought last week, and then that one goes in the closet. It's like, oh guys,
yeah, that would actually be my critic at the AEW, because I am noticing that they're doing this whole like promotional. They're doing this big promotion. Whatever wrestlers here now in the AEW, and they're like, oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, but on the bright side, though, at least
match and that's it.
On the bright side, though, at least they're free to do whatever instead of like Cardona's with Impact now, but at least he's free to go there and not like, okay, now he's stuck in AEW for 5 years or wear a contract and he's just there and they're not using him. At least they have the freedom. I don't know. I guess maybe the plan is just if there is a plan, but maybe the plan is just to build them up in AEW to make them, I guess, kind of a big deal, and then move them to wherever else they want to go after that. So it's like, hey, we got Cardona here. That dude made a big pop in AEW. Now he's in Impact. Check him out.
If it was like a company like WWE, and I know because they're like the gold standard. The reason I say them. If it was a company like WWE doing it, I would be okay with it. But the problem is AEW. Despite their budget, they're still relatively new. And this should be the period of time where they're establishing like what to expect.
Yeah.
And the problem is a lot of casual wrestling fans are like, what do I expect? Like, you tell me. And then they're like, oh, you tell us. It's like, no, you tell us. No, you. I'm like, duh! It kind of makes me like go like, come on, man.
The tragedy, which it was a tragedy of what happened with Brody Lee, like that was unexpected and unprecedented. But here's the thing. When he was off TV almost immediately after he showed up, and he was gone so long without a peep, and then when he, God rest him, passed away, that was shocking. But the unfortunate thing, other than the obvious, but from what I mean is a booking perspective in the way AEW does business, the unfortunate thing was nobody expected it was something like that or that he was health issues. People just assumed he was off TV for the same reason everybody AEW signed and make a big deal of his off TV. Because they get him and then they forget about him. And people were like, oh God, he was sick? I thought they just forgot he worked there, just like Cardona and Seidel and all these other guys and Janela. Like,
a good point.
It's like for as much they don't have enough TV time. I'm just gonna say it flat out. They don't have enough TV time to make use of the people they have. So I just saw they signed somebody else today. I forgot her name already, but somebody showed me they signed somebody, and I says, "What? They're still signing people just to not use it? Like why? Just
Well,
you have a roster."
we'll get back to this after we go through the matches because I think we keep getting off track.
We do, but yeah.
Hey, that's what made the
Let's
podcast
go,
so awesome.
Layla Hirsch, I was thinking of.
Layla Hirsch, she's a good wrestler, so
They all are.
she's a
though.
talented girl. Yeah.
You got to put them on TV and make them work though before it fucking gets over. Geez.
Well,
Yeah.
one little thing I will say about that is one of the plus sides to signing Thunder Rosa was Thunder Rosa has her own separate wrestling organization called Mission Pro. And a lot of what Mission Pro does is it's all female wrestlers, but she trains them. She shows them the ropes. She shows them basically every bare basics of wrestling, gives them an opportunity to show until they, craft their style so well that they go, okay, do whatever you want now. So, good example, Layla Hirsch came out of her wrestling school. Serena Deeb came out of her wrestling school. Red Velvet came out of her wrestling school. So, all the top wrestling women in AEW came from Mission Pro. So that's why I kept saying, well, the fact that they have Thunder Rosa is a good thing because she can help elevate the other women to thrive more.
Right.
You know what I mean? She could be like, hey, guys, I know a couple people I could throw your way, kind of thing.
Yeah, all that's
Anyway,
great.
but
to me, the impact of new people coming in was the point.
Yeah.
Has been very diluted by the fact that they bring them in, they're a big deal for a week, and then they're just somebody who's there, but they're not being used the way they could be or as much or in the right places. It's almost like getting that new toy. So it's like I would be more excited whenever they say, hey, look who we have now, if anybody but Sting turned out to be worth the investment. Because I like how they're using him for the most part, but he's the only one. And we'll come back to him later on, but I just...
Yeah, to be honest, the way, you're describing the way AEW is doing business now.
Is that with the amount of TV time they have every week, and I mean proper TV time, because let's be honest, WWE, they have 4 hours or whatever, 5 hours plus NXT every week to get people over, and that's a huge advantage to them. I'm always rooting for AEW. For as much as I like to criticize things I feel are criticism worthy, some of these things are just simple drawbacks of real life. I mean, they only have the TV time that they have, but it's an irresponsible use of resources to continually expand when you already are struggling to make good use of the resources you already have in-house, which are good resources. You have good talent, and I get it. It's like you see that shiny new toy and you want to snatch it up before somebody else does. The past year and a half, it really hasn't turned out that way for too many of their new toys. So I want to see everybody do great. I want to see more of these people. I want to see more of all of them. They just haven't done a great job of balancing that yet. Hopefully they will.
Yeah. And you know me, I'm as biased as possible with AEW. Even there's just stuff I can't explain away or forgive or whatever. I mean, they do that. I can't deny it. So, anyways,
I think one thing I will say, one last thing I will say. I think it's more, and I think I can speak for all of us when I say this. There's been a lot of wrestling companies that have folded over some of the stuff that we're starting to see AEW do. And it's almost like we're almost like that person who's trying to stop the person and the train's coming. I think that's what it is. It's not necessarily that we want them to fall. We're just look, guys, look. I mean, they constantly talk about, respecting the past, which you do need to do. But you also have to learn from the past. And a lot of the stuff that AEW is doing is what almost caused TNA to fold and is what caused WCW to fold. And I don't want to see that shit happening. Because it's literally
people than they could use. They had more people than they market as an alternative. I think they could be more of an alternative to WWE because they do a lot of the same dumb shit sometimes. But I mean, every positive that they have is also counterbalanced by a negative. In this case, this match is like a great microcosm of the company. You look at this match and you look at the lineup and it's like, oh my God, they've got so many people. But then you flip that, and it's like, ooh, wait, they have 2 hours of TV a week. Here's the good. They have this beefy fucking roster, and it is a good roster, and it's a stacked roster. The negative of that, 2 hours of TV every week, and you still have to get the same 6 people over every week within those 2 hours, so everybody else is kind of left scrambling. So every positive they have has an equally weighted negative. And I feel like this Battle Royal match was a perfect microcosm of the company as a whole.
But the ending to the match, the Jungle Boy and Ray Phoenix, like them going back and forth, that sequence of them, just those two, oh man, like that was probably one of the best sequences I've seen in of the night, definitely of the night. Like that was probably the best, like, just seeing them, just going after each other was crazy,
I like the concept of the match. I really do. When you have that many tag teams, I liked the way they executed it with both guys having to get eliminated, because it never made sense to me in a tag team battle royal why if your partner goes, you go. It's like, I didn't do shit. I thought it was a good use of resources. Like I said, there's a good and bad in everything with this company, but I feel like it was a good idea. Wouldn't mind seeing it, not every time, but more often. And like, unlike some battle royals, it wasn't a clusterfuck. You had storyline progression. You had the Natural Nightmares breaking up. You had that sequence, like you said. There was a lot to like about it. So, overall thumbs up. I would have put in maybe one or two. In all seriousness, I would have put in like maybe a known tag team just to get shit canned or whatever, just for the pop. I mean, that's what they do with the Royal Rumble, right? They'll trot out the Hurricane or somebody who's obviously not going to win, but he'll, get the pop. I feel like they could have done that easily, but it's not the end of the world. Good overall, good feelings. But like I said, just certain things maybe a little.
Well, I don't. Okay, so I don't remember most of the matches. There's always a lot going on in those, type of matches. But I did remember enough that the final parts of Ray Phoenix versus Jungle Boy, I mean, that was a really good match, and it's very good because both wrestlers are very, I don't know, they're very agile, they're very athletic, they move very fast, You have like the lucha libre style, and then you have like like Jungle Boy type style wrestling, which I guess is kind of like lucha libre in its own way. So that was pretty interesting. I think that was very clever of them to actually put them in the end, like to see how they can battle it out. Like they're both very good at their crafts.
I would have liked to, honestly, like I said, selfishly, I would have loved to see Pillman and them go over, but that's just I love that guy with all my heart, man.
So in the end, just so you guys know, of course, Ray Phoenix won the match on behalf of the Death Triangle, El Triángulo de la Muerte. So that means that I got that one right, and Chuck got that one right, and Jack Knives got that one right. I remember Johnny voted for the Natural Nightmares, which was, I guess, the worst possible team he could have voted for after what happened here. And Ricky Rocks.
Hey, it was unpredictable, okay? I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, me neither, to be honest. And Ricky Rocks voted for the Varsity Blondes, which are pretty cool too, but, In fact, were they? I think they were like the first ones out.
They didn't last too long, though.
Yeah, but so that has Jack Knives in the lead so far, and both Ricky and Johnny are the only ones that don't have any points at all. But hey, the night is still young. Let's keep on going. All right, guys. So next one we have is, of course, the big women's match for the AEW Women's Championship. We got Hikaru Shira. Yeah, you guys called her Shira, so there we go. And defending her title against Rio, oh god, I didn't have her last name written down. But she was the one that won the AEW...
Rio Mizunami.
Thank you.
Rio Mizunami.
Yep, she won the AEW women's tournament that would determine who would go up to face Shida. And yeah, what can I say? It's a pretty good match. Lots of back and forth. I like how they kind of use that line about, like, even if you wrestle for 100 years, you'll never beat me. So they really use that quite a bit as their motivation. And Yeah, I mean, they both went all out. It took Rio a lot to take her out. I was expecting. I mean, there were a couple of close calls where I thought she was going to win. I mean, I was voting for her to win because, again, it just makes sense, at least to me. Why hold a big old tournament? I mean, like on one side you have Sheeta in a sense that, well, who else? Who is gonna beat her? Who else is there to beat her? You know, and you have a whole tournament set up to see who's gonna beat her, only for her to beat them anyway. So for me, it would have made sense if Rio won, but of course Hikaru Shida called the parts of Grayskull and defeated her and everything. But you know, that's at least my take on it. But I was entertained though. It was a pretty good match, pretty good back and forth. I know that she doesn't have maybe like the most personality out there, but I mean, in the ring, she's awesome. Rio is awesome. They both fought it out like crazy, but in the end, Hikaru Shida still won. And what are your thoughts, Johnny?
Okay, what do I think of the match? It was a very intense match. As usual, there's like a lot of emotions in it because I don't know why, but every time when it's a match with Hikaru Shida, there's always like a lot of emotions. Like it makes people think, like it makes people want to root for her, and yeah, there was a lot of back and forth, and I actually liked Ryo Mitsunami because she seemed to have a little bit more charisma than Shida does. I mean, she was taunting her the whole time. She was making fun out of her the whole time, and she is a very good wrestler as well. So it's very good to see them both battled it out. But kind of like what Mark said, in a way, it's kind of, I mean, I don't have a problem with Shida winning the match. It's just that if it was like a regular opponent, it's not that big of a deal. But when you have this whole gimmick of the fight that Rio was supposed to retire, but she didn't retire just for the sole fact that she wants to win this match against Hikaru Shida, it seemed kind of like a lackluster at her end that she lost anyways. Like, whoa, you sacrificed your your retirement, and you're being even more determined to train yourself, to get in good shape, to do all the sacrifices you have to take to make it to the end, and then she still got beat up anyway. So that's kind of like a little bit of the letdown on that side. But other than that, I mean, it was a really good match. I liked it.
Yeah, I think it was probably my favorite match of the night, to be honest. I just liked they had a good back and forth. I liked seeing them kind of just like them. Yeah, there was a couple goofy moments, but that's expected from their style of wrestling. But no, I liked seeing it good back and forth between them. I think Shida stepped up a lot against Rio. I think Rio added. I think wasn't she like the first person to kick out of 2 Falcon Arrows?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she's the first person to kick out of 2 Falcon Arrows. She did like I said, she did like the running knee. Just like Shida was the first person to kick out of her flying leg drop. Usually when she does that, that's it.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty cool for me. So that was the first time either of them had ever had like their like ultimate finishers kicked out of. So that was pretty cool. And I think Shida introduced a new finisher, right? Like she did that same finisher she had to use to beat Thunder Rosa, where she did the running jump. It's like a running jump Shining Wizard.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, I think she had to do that to beat Thunder Rosa, and she hasn't used it since. So it was kind of cool to see her bring that back to beat Rio. Like she's like, screw it, I'm done.
Yeah,
it's like literally like she had to do everything. So, but it was a really good match. I like I said, I enjoyed it. The only downside I think was just that, like I said, it's more of. I wanted so bad for Rio to win because, as you said, it made no sense to have a tournament only for her to lose. But then I remembered they're booking Shida to basically be unbeatable. So, they're probably not going to have her lose until it's like they're able to get like a, I don't know, Ghost of Fabulous Moolah to show up. I don't know.
Tessa Blanchard.
if it's Tessa Blanchard, I'd be okay with it. To be honest, I think that would be kind of cool. But
I don't know how likely that honestly would be.
I know, but I'm just saying.
The controversy surrounding her. I mean, Khan has flat out said out loud that certain people would never be booked for saying something.
Yeah, he's also said a lot of stuff and contradicted it a lot. So
You never know.
I take what he says with I don't take what he says with a pinch of salt. I take what he says with one of those sumo wrestling fistfuls of salt.
But he seems pretty hardline about the racial stuff, though. He seems like he's stuck hard to that.
Yeah,
he seems to take that really seriously. I'm just saying. I won't be surprised if she does show up. I just think that, I mean, the society we live in now, where even an accusation is as good enough of proof of guilt, and those accusations are pretty strong, and she denied it, but other people who were there said no, that happened. So who knows?
Yeah, but the whole thing of it is all, like I said, it's all speculative, and who knows? Maybe they could even use it as a way to get her, if they address it and then have a way to kind of build her up from it and be like, look, she's trying to start from scratch and work her way. You know what I mean? If they do it like that, you know what I mean? I think it could work if they did it in the way they did it. But yeah, but
nothing shocks me. So if they bring her in,
but like I said, that's. But as of right now, I don't, and that goes back to what Mark said. The biggest problem is, who the hell else is she going to fight?
Yeah.
I've already said before, I still think she should have lost to Thunder Rosa, because legitimately I think Thunder Rosa being champion would have been a really interesting concept. But at the same time, I'm also who is she going to drop the title to at this point?
Or have a
She's fought
rematch.
pretty much everyone. So.
Have a rematch. At that one match, I kind of felt I would have still wanted Thunder Rosa. I would have wanted Shida to keep the title a while longer, but now that it's been a while, have a rematch and have Thunder Rosa actually beat her this time and get the title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems yeah, exactly. I'm there's only so many times you could see, but I honestly think most likely who's probably going to win the title from her is probably going to be Britt Baker. The way they're booking her, I just have a feeling
it's either
whenever that match comes.
It's either going to be Britt Baker or Nyla Rose. I mean, that's just, you look at the fact that they jumped her after the match, and it's why would that even happen if it wasn't going to set up something down the road where one of them beats her for the belt?
Yeah, I was going to mention that was kind of surprising that when everything ended and stuff, surprisingly, where's my notes here? At the end, first of all, Nyla Rose comes in with Vicky Guerrero, and they start beating the crap out of Rio and everything. And then suddenly, Maki Itoh also comes in with Britt Baker and Reba, and they all beat the crap out of both Hikaru Shida and Rio. And Reba with the crush that she doesn't really need, smacks her with it and all that stuff. And then surprisingly, Thunder Rosa comes in to save the day, kind of scares everyone away. But look interesting. For that moment, it kind of looked like there was a mini faction going on there with Britt Baker, Reba, Nyla Rose, Vicky, and Maki Itoh, which could have been a cool way to keep her, assuming that they signed her, I mean, with their, big love of tag team matches and stuff, I would have booked that for next episode of Dynamite. I would have booked Nyla, Mika, and Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida, Rio, and Thunder Rosa. That would have been no doubt. I would have booked that shit.
That match is actually happening this week.
Oh, okay. Well, okay then. Well, they read my mind. Okay.
Yeah.
But you see,
anyone else see that predictable going by? Anyone else see it?
Well, I'm just saying because it's a good way for to keep Maki Itoh in the game. I'm not sure if she's signed or not, but hey, milk her for all she's worth. And also Rio, while you still got her,
They need women like them to elevate more. What I'm really shocked is what happened to the whole Abaddon thing? Because weren't they building a match between Abaddon and Shida for the title?
Yeah, but Shida still won. I mean, Abaddon bit into Shida and made her bleed like crazy, but Shida still won.
But they were supposed to fight for the title, and it never happened. I thought didn't it not happen?
But on Dynamite though, it was never like a pay-per-view one. It was still
because she was sidelined because she had I think she had pancreatitis, she had to have her appendix removed.
Oh God, I didn't know that.
pancreas removed. And then she was off TV for a while. And then apparently, like, what was it? A month ago, she went back on Dark. And then, like, she's never been on Dynamite since. I'm like, wait, what the hell? Wait, are they punishing her for having a part of her appendix removed? Like, wait, what?
I don't know.
Like,
but the thing is, I always saw it as she was gonna challenge her, but like on Dynamite. I never really saw it like on the actual pay-per-views though. Like I always thought it was gonna be like a Dynamite episode. Now, what did surprise me though?
I could be mistaken, but the way they were kind of building that kind of thing, where like, you know, it was implied like Sheeta was kind of afraid of her, and I don't know. I kind of was expecting like something like that.
I'm just surprised that with the big money stuff, I'm surprised they didn't have like. Why are you gonna have Shaq on an episode of Dynamite? Why not on the pay-per-view? You know?
Yeah.
Oh, they did fight. I'm sorry, it was on Dynamite.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Oh wait, no, they never did. They never had.
Well, I remember there was a match where Abaddon bit into like Hikaru Shida's forehead and made him gush blood like crazy and fucking.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was at New Year's Smash. That's right. Okay,
because I think Hikaru Shida was posting like cosplay pictures related to Resident Evil, saying I'm ready to bust, you know, zombies and stuff. Zombies don't scare me. I'm ready and shit like that. Like they really go all out with the zombie memes. I forgot who else. Someone was gonna face Abaddon, one of the lesser ones that got taken out, but before the match, they posted on Instagram or Twitter or whatever stuff like she don't scare me. I've seen every episode of The Walking Dead.
Who won that one?
The predictions, Jack is still in the lead because everyone except for moi voted for Hikaru Shida. Again, baby, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to betray you, but I just thought, you know, why have a tournament if they're just going to feed them to you like that? So Johnny, Rikki, Jack, and Chuck all voted for Hikaru Shida. So Jack is in the lead with 3 points, Chuck got 2 points, Rikki and Johnny got 1 point apiece. And I got none from this prediction. So Rikki and Johnny are on the board now.
Yeah, I specifically said the opposite of you. I specifically said that the whole point of the tournament was to craft a new challenger, but not for that challenger to win it. So.